My name is Jane, I'm 28, and for as long as I can remember, I've carried a label no child ever asks for. The family letdown. My sister, Beverly, seemed born to shine. Trophies, certificates, and applause followed her like a shadow, while I lived in her wake. Second-place finishes, polite claps, and constant reminders of how far below her I stood. I convinced myself I was used to it. That invisibility was just my role. Until one Tuesday night, when my mother said something so sharp, so cruel, it cut deeper than every dismissal before it. A single sentence that forced me to face the truth. That moment changed everything. Before I tell you what happened, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It keeps us going to create more stories like this. Drop a comment letting us know where you're listening from. Now, back to the story. The first time I realized I'd never match Beverly was in 7th grade. I sat sweating over long division, while her name was already glowing in bold letters on the honor roll board. At home, the comparisons never stopped. Report cards spread across the kitchen table. Mom's face lit up for Beverly's perfect grades, then dimmed when she glanced at mine. Parent-teacher conferences were torture. I sat outside in the hallway, listening through the door as Beverly's name echoed again and again, the example I was supposed to chase. When I brought home paintings, hoping maybe my art would spark pride, Mom barely looked. "That's nice, honey. Did you hear Beverly won another scholarship?" Scholarship season was the worst. Beverly had her pick of Ivy Leagues. There were parties, long calls with relatives, endless congratulations. The day my community college acceptance came, Mom tore open the envelope, sighed, and said, "Well, at least you'll keep studying. Community college has its uses, Jane." I tried to carve my own space. Drama club, track, anything to prove I wasn't just Beverly's shadow. Every attempt ended the same. Even when I won first place in the county art fair, Mom's words stung. "Art's a nice hobby, but Beverly's internship at that law firm will look much better on her applications." Graduation was the final verdict. Beverly delivered the valedictorian speech. I sat lost in the middle rows, unseen. Family photos told the same story. Her awards framed on the mantel, while my picture hid behind a debate trophy, half-covered and forgotten. Even after Beverly left for Harvard, I couldn't escape it. Weekly phone calls filled the house with her professors, her achievements, her cases. My life was always a side note. Still, the worst was yet to come. Everything shifted that spring. Dad had a heart attack. I was sketching a logo at my desk when Mom's panicked voice broke through the phone. "Your father collapsed. They're rushing him to the hospital." 8 hours later, after surgery and endless pacing, the doctors said he'd recover, but slowly. 6 months without work, maybe more. His paycheck had always held us together. Mom's part-time library job barely covered groceries. That's when the truth spilled out. They were broke. Bills stacked like threats on the counter. No savings left. I didn't hesitate. My freelance design work was small but steady. I offered to cover the mortgage, utilities, even Dad's prescriptions. For a second, relief softened Mom's face. Then came the sting. "Are you sure you can afford this, Jane? I know your little projects don't exactly bring in much." Her words burned, but I swallowed the hurt. Family came first. I dove headfirst into work. 12-hour days, weekends gone, taking every project I could find, websites for tiny shops, flyers for non-profits, logos for cafes that barely paid for gas. Sleep disappeared. Meals were peanut butter sandwiches at my desk. Coffee became water. My back ached from the screen, my eyes stung, but I kept going. Every month, I handed Mom an envelope with the mortgage check. Every month, she took it silently. Meanwhile, Beverly was planning a wedding fit for a magazine spread. Paris proposal, country club reception, flowers, rings, gowns worth more than my yearly income. Mom gushed over every detail, clipping bridal magazines, bragging to neighbors, while ignoring the fact that her lesser daughter was the one keeping our house from foreclosure. The money wasn't what broke me. It was her blindness. She looked past every sacrifice I made, still calling my career little art projects, still worshipping Beverly as if she were the only daughter worth loving. Exhaustion set deep in my bones. Resentment crept into my chest. I knew I couldn't keep it up forever. And yet, while I worked myself raw, Mom planned Beverly's perfect engagement party. That night was my breaking point. Despite our debts and my sacrifices, Mom insisted on hosting an elaborate celebration. Caterers, rented linens. The backyard transformed into a glittering stage for Beverly's success. Beverly arrived radiant in her designer gown, diamond ring catching every glimmer, with Richard beaming at her side. 50 guests filled the yard, neighbors, family, friends, all buzzing congratulations to the golden couple. I had spent the morning arranging flowers, setting tables, doing the quiet work no one noticed. Mom barked orders like a general. Make sure Beverly's place cards are flawless. This must be perfect. The irony burned. I had paid for this party. To everyone else, I was background noise. The toasts cut like knives. Uncle Harold raised his glass to the family success story. Aunt Margaret gushed about Mom's pride in her extraordinary daughter. I clapped from the shadows, applauding Beverly's spotlight while standing in the dark. Then came the moment that shattered me. Mrs. Coleman, our neighbor, asked about both daughters. Mom's response sliced me open. Beverly is thriving. Partner track at the firm, engaged to this wonderful man, planning the most beautiful wedding. And Jane? Well, Jane is still figuring things out with her little art projects. Polite laughter rippled. Sympathetic nods followed. And I wished the ground would open and swallow me whole. The daughter keeping the lights on, the fridge stocked, and the bills paid was still dismissed as a hobbyist. An afterthought. A failure. Later that night, as I gathered plates and folded linens, Mom's face glowed with pride. Wasn't Beverly breathtaking tonight? Richard's family adored her. This is exactly the kind of celebration she deserves. Not a single word about me. Not a hint of acknowledgement that without my sacrifice, this entire evening wouldn't have existed. By then, my exhaustion wasn't just in my muscles, it was in my spirit. I was pouring myself out for people who didn't even notice. The little girl who had once begged for approval was finally reaching her breaking point. And then, Mom spoke the cruelest words of all. It happened 3 days later, on a Wednesday evening. I stopped by to hand over the mortgage check, nearly half of what I had earned that month. 4 months in a row. Mom sat at the kitchen table, flipping through glossy wedding magazines for Beverly. She barely looked at me. The Riverside Country Club has an opening, she said casually. They can host 300 guests. It's perfect for Beverly. Just what she deserves. The number hit me like a slap. That single night would cost more than I'd been handing her for months. Beverly's fantasy was bought with the same money that was breaking me. Then she turned her gaze on me. You really should take better care of yourself, Jane. Look at Beverly. So polished, so put together. And this freelance thing. It's been years, and you're still barely scraping by. Maybe it's time to accept reality. The irony burned hot in my chest. My so-called struggles existed because I was carrying them. Yet she couldn't, or wouldn't, see it. Then came the final blow, the one I'll never forget. I just don't understand why you can't be more like your sister. You'll never measure up to Beverly, Jane. 28 years of doubt condensed into a single moment of clarity. I locked eyes with her and said, steady and sharp, then ask Beverly to pay your bills. Her face drained of color. The fantasy she had built around Beverly cracked in real time. You heard me, I continued. Ask her to cover the mortgage. Ask her to handle Dad's prescriptions. Ask her to pay for the utilities. Everything I've been keeping afloat. Her hands trembled, the magazine sliding from her grip. I didn't realize, she stammered. You didn't want to realize, I shot back. Every time I handed you a check, every time I said I was working late, you chose not to see it. Because in your eyes, I could never be enough. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through proof. March mortgage, my money. April utilities, my money. Dad's medication, my money. Even the catering for Beverly's engagement party, my money. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I couldn't stop. Do you have any idea what it feels like to give up everything for parents who treat you like you're worthless? To drain myself dry while you brag about the daughter who isn't even here. Mom finally broke, sobbing, confessing that Beverly knew nothing. She hadn't told her because she didn't want to ruin the perfect image. I shook my head. That fantasy was built on me. For the first time, she looked at me and truly saw, not the lesser daughter, not the disappointment, but the one who had carried the family on her back. From that night on, nothing between us was the same. The weeks afterward felt different. The air in the house shifted. Silence didn't erase me anymore. It gave me space. Mom called Beverly and finally told her the truth. The debt, the bills, the months I had shouldered it all alone. Beverly's voice changed the moment she found out. She called me the next day. Her tone wasn't smug or superior. It was heavy, almost gentle. Jane, I had no idea. Mom never told me. I feel awful you've been doing this alone. Let me help. For the first time in years, I believed her sincerity. Beverly took over Dad's medical bills. She started an emergency fund. She even referred clients to my design business. The wall between us, built from years of comparison, finally began to crumble. Mom changed too, though slowly. She started asking about my projects, catching herself when she slipped back into old habits. One day, when a neighbor asked about her daughters, I braced myself. But she surprised me. Beverly is doing wonderfully at the law firm, she said. And Jane has built an amazing design business. I'm proud of both my girls. I nearly couldn't believe my ears. 6 months later, Thanksgiving felt like a different world. Beverly and Richard, me and my boyfriend David, Mom and Dad, all around the same table. Not perfect, but not poisoned either. Mom placed my favorite dessert beside Beverly's apple pie. It was a small gesture, but to me it meant everything. After dinner, as we played board games, I realized something I never thought I would. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't the disappointment. I was just Jane. And that was finally enough. Looking back, that Wednesday night in the kitchen was my turning point. The moment I stopped begging to be seen and demanded it instead. Have you ever reached that breaking point? The moment you stood up after years of being pushed down? Share it in the comments. Your story matters too. And if mine struck a chord, hit like, subscribe, and remember this. Your worth isn't measured against anyone else. Sometimes the only approval you need is your own. The truth is simple. I may never be Beverly, but I will always be Jane. And that is more than enough. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of family betrayal and survival. Reminders that we are always stronger than we think.